So today we need to get the Fairmont Station Wagon, which is 4200 powered, and the other vehicle that we plan to take to the Midwest Drags ready to go. So the last time you guys saw this car, we actually talked about the fact that this thing really needed a different set of rear gears. Going down the highway, it just had way too many RPM, and it was just really wearing on my body. You know, my ears were ringing after I was done driving the thing, and it just was pretty unbearable. So we went about changing the gears on the car, which we actually did on a live stream. We changed out the 364 gears that were in the car to a set of 315s that were actually originally in the car on the original build. Well, it turns out that the 364 gears may have actually been damaged. My dad thinks that the spool in the car was actually bent, and there was actually a pretty bad vibration that was causing on the trip up and back from Beaver Springs, and that may have been part of the problem. That being said, it has dropped the RPM going down the highway very significantly, and the car is much more pleasant to drive. So other things that we need to wrap up on this car is it needs an oil change, and I also need to address an issue with my oil temperature sensor. So let's get to work. Alright guys, so the last time that you saw this car, we took it for a 100-mile drive up to Beaver Springs and raced it. It went a 978 at 137, and right now we are giving it an oil change. So I'm about to drop the filter, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut the filter open and see if there's any particulates in the filter. Also, while I'm here doing the oil change, I have a Low Dollar Motorsports oil temperature and pressure sensor, and the oil pressure has always read great on that pressure sensor, but the temperature has been a little bit finicky. I think because it's such a wide range across such a small change in resistance, the temperature sensor just is prone to have noise on it, and it's been nothing but issues. So as you can see here, I took my drain plug out and I have replaced it with a sensor. So what you see right there, that is a 2004 Chevy Trailblazer coolant temperature sensor, and it just so happens that it has the same exact thread as the drain plug. So we're going to use this as a oil fluid temperature sensor, but just wanted to show you guys that little tidbit. So let's get this filter off and see if there's any metal in it. Alright, to cut the filter open, I have this filter cutter tool. It's just a couple roller bearings, a little cutter, and you basically clamp it around your oil filter, and it allows you to cleanly cut the top off without putting any false metal particulates into the filter and possibly making you concerned for no reason. Looks good. Looks like a little bit of dirt, but
nothing shiny.
Nothing shiny.
Nothing.
That looks great.
Yeah, that looks like fibrous material. No, that's
just the filter.
It's just the way the bubbles are. Yeah, there's some dirt. It's definitely some.
Yeah.
But
you'd think it was a 125,000 mile engine or something.
Oh, that'd be new.
Alright, I think we're good to go, guys.
That engine had sludge in it from before.
Yep.
That's probably just the stuff coming loose from the high detergent oil.
Yeah, the detergent and the oil just washing the engine out.
Yeah, there's no metal in there.
Cool.
Nothing.
Alright, we're good to go. Alright guys, let's talk about the things we're going to bring with us to the event to try and make us successful. So you'll notice that I have these little carrying cases that I got from Home Depot. They are designed to snap together, and they're really nice because I can just pick them up as one big chunk and take them in and out of the car, nice and easy. Now, I will say, we do not plan to bring a trailer, so we may have a little bit different strategy to someone that will bring a trailer, and that's simply because we don't want to deal with having to haul a trailer out there and some of the challenges that come along with that. Now, having a trailer is really nice because when you get there on race day, you can literally just unhook the thing and take the car up to staging lanes, whereas when you have everything piled into the back of the car, you have to take it out of the car, and that just becomes a little bit annoying at the start and end of each day, but there's trade-offs to both. So let's go over the spare parts that we are bringing. So I'll start off with saying that if you cannot walk into a auto parts store and say, I need this part, and they'll have it on the shelf, you should probably bring it with you. So this includes stuff like these specialty HD style boost clamps. So these guys are basically what hold my boost charge pipes together, along with the O-rings that are used to seal the things. You know, these clamps, you could easily drop this thing in the mud and not be able to find it, so it's a good idea to carry a spare. Also, things like wastegates. So we run these Chinese wastegates, and they're cheap enough that it's smart to carry a spare. Also, make sure you have an extra fire ring. Another note on your wastegate, it's probably a good idea to have this guy already sprung, similar to your wastegate that's in the car. That way, if you have a problem, you can literally just take it off and put it in the car, or you know, what have you. Additionally, spark plugs. So a lot of people are running more specialty racing style spark plugs, and we are no exception to that. We run these NGK 8 heat range plugs, and you can't just walk into a parts store because they normally don't carry racing competition spark plugs. You'll also notice I have a battery charger in here, and we'll get to that later. Duct tape is never a bad idea. Having an extra oil filter, also a great idea. You never know if you're going to want to like check the health of the engine at some point during the event. You know, cut the filter open, see if there's metal in it, that sort of thing. And you know, some people even do an oil change midway through the event. In the second container, right off the bat, make sure you have an extra serpentine belt. This could save your butt. This is a biggie. Having extra injectors, that could make or break your week. In our case, we're running Snake Eater Performance 1500cc injectors. I originally got these for a V8 engine, so I have 2 spare injectors ready to go. Also, having things like injector spacers like this guy. You never know if you're going to have an issue with an injector, and maybe a fellow competitor has an injector that will get you through the event, and you may need an injector spacer to make up the difference. Injector plug adapters, good idea to have those as well. A new thing that we recently discovered are these little AN, basically seat replacements. They basically, you put them on top of an AN fitting, and they act as a gasket to try and fix a AN fitting that may have been damaged. Another thing is having lots of extra lug nuts. JB Weld is never a bad idea. This is the steel stick. You mush it up in your hands and you push it on the part you need to seal up. All right, this next box, we're gonna start getting into some of the tools that we are going to bring. So, digital multimeter, definitely a good thing to have. You never know if you're gonna have an electrical issue, and this is a key piece to be able to diagnose an issue. Also, having a spare ECU, if you can swing it, is definitely a great idea. We're not running a Megasquirt on either of the cars that we're bringing, but this just happens to be in my electrical supply box, so whatever. Also, having tools for wiring, you know, such as torches and crimpers, strippers, that kind of thing. You know, being able to make an electrical repair could make or break your week. Having extra wire ready to go so that you can make connections across the car. You may even want to carry a wire that is like the length of the vehicle. You never know if you're going to have to, like, you know, replace a fuel pump wire or hot wire, something that, you know, is causing you an issue. Shrink sleeve, you know, all kinds of spade connectors, of course electrical tape. So these are the electrical related items. This last box is more electrical components. Lots of eyelet connections here. Oh, here's something that a lot of people forget. Fuses. You know, I actually almost forgot this. You never know if you're going to pop a fuse at some point during the event, and being able to just go click and put a new one in. One more thing I'm going to go over is make sure you have extra sensors, especially if they're specialty sensors. I'm going to carry extra O2, extra EGTs, an extra crank sensor, extra IAC motor, and a few extra temperature and pressure sensors, so that if I have a problem at some point during the event, I can fix it and we can get back on the road. Now, I will say, if you are bringing something like a trailer, it is not a bad idea to bring stuff like extra turbos and that sort of thing. But in our case, we're not bringing a trailer, so I am not going to carry stuff like this with us. If we have a turbo failure at some point during the event, we're probably going to call it quits. Also, you should bring lots of like sockets and maybe an impact to help change your lug nuts. Definitely bring a torque wrench and you know, basic hand tools, sockets. You know, maybe just go to the store and buy one of those boxes with all of the sockets in it. But one other thing that I alluded to earlier is I highly recommend that you bring some sort of air compressor. In my case, I am going to bring my Milwaukee air compressor, and that will allow me to fill my race tires at the event. If you guys don't know, race rubber usually loses a little bit of air just over time. Normally, you know, tires leak, especially when you don't have an inner tube. So that's just a short list of the things that we plan to bring. There's definitely some things that I glossed over or didn't mention, but for the most part, that should get you by. If you have any other suggestions, leave them down below in the comments. I'd be happy to hear your guys' ideas. Now, the other car that we need to prepare, well, rather truck we need to prepare, is my mom's 1966 F100. Now, since the last time you guys saw this truck, it actually had a transmission issue. The transmission that we installed in this thing was a 4L80E, and it had right around 300,000 miles on it. So it was probably due for a rebuild as it was. Maybe we should have done that preemptively. Hindsight's 2020, but we tore the thing out, got it repaired, and it's pretty much ready to rock. Additionally, we installed a Jegs brand lockup torque converter in the thing. So we have quite a few things that we have to get ready on this truck. And one of the things is the shifter. As you guys know, on the original build on this car, we did the original column shifter, and we basically adapted that to the 4L80E. Well, the problem with that is the engine kind of rocks in the chassis, and it keeps bumping it from fourth down into third. This is not going to work. We need the shifting to be very predictable, and we can't have things just bumping around and causing issues. You know, God forbid it made its way into reverse when you were going down the highway. That would be really bad. So we are going to convert the car to a floor shifter, and while we're at it, we're going to add some cup holders. The other thing is we need to add some traction bars. In order to get consistent drag times, we definitely need to have some sort of axle wrap control. So my dad started to fabricate these. They are just a set of slapper bars that he added this little U channel in to, and they will basically bolt around the axle housing and act as a slapper bar. As you guys may know, we have slapper bars on my Studebaker Lark, and that thing works really well. Mom is really excited to show this thing off to you guys, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But for now, we need to get back to work, so I'm going to end this video off here. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.